Welcome back to Two and a Half Takes. I'm your host, Paul, and I'm joined with my co-host, Tim. Today we're doing our mock draft 2.0 since we're officially 1 month away from the 2023 NFL Draft. If you like what you hear, we'd greatly appreciate a like, and if you want to hear some more, go ahead and feel free to subscribe. As always, let us know who had the half take down below. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started.
All right, guys, starting off with the Carolina Panthers. It seems like they are the go-ahead favorites to go ahead and draft C.J. Stroud, quarterback out of Ohio State. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's going to be a good pick there. Houston Texans at number 2 there. There's a plethora of quarterback options still on the board there at number 2, but I think they're going to go with Bryce Young out of Alabama. Despite of his size, I think that he's going to be a solid player for them. And I really do think that he's going to be the new face of the franchise there. With the Arizona Cardinals at number 3, I do see them as in a need for talent, and they are in a prime position to trade down. But I also see them needing the best defensive player left on the board. So I think that with them being with the 3rd pick, they do get the first option of that. So I'm going to go Will Anderson Jr. out of Alabama.
I like that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that him off the edge there, that really does it helps their secondary quite a bit because he's able to get pressure at an enormous rate. I want to say that he was like 2nd in the NCAA as far as pressure win rate on pass rushes.
If they can't trade it away, they're already going to get a pick, something for D-Hop at least. Will Anderson, he's a very safe draft pick. Really can't go wrong, and they need anything they can get their hands on defense.
Absolutely. With the 4th pick, the Indianapolis Colts, I think that they're in love with the toolsy guy of Anthony Richardson. So I think he's going to go there at number 4. If I'm not mistaken, they had the coaches, I think it was Coaches Day. Was that today or yesterday, Paul? But apparently Frank Reich was not, Shane Steichen was not in attendance. So it looks like he might be there in person at Anthony Richards Pro Day, which was also held today. So kind of an interesting point to point out there.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I could see. I think that's a great fit for them, especially with his experience with a mobile style quarterback and Hurts. I think Richardson is essentially the same kind of guy. He can run the ball. He's got a cannon for an arm. So I think it'll be an interesting duo. And then, like I said before, Jonathan Taylor in the backfield. If that offensive line kind of returns to their initial form, or they were formed 2 years ago, definitely going to make a rookie quarterback's job a lot easier.
Absolutely, man. All right, now at number 5, the Seattle Seahawks. All right, I got a shocker here for you. I'm going Christian Gonzalez. I'm going to mix some things up here.
Ooh.
I think that if you can get him on the other side of Tariq Woolen and have Kobe Bryant playing the slot there, I think that they have an emergence, secondary, and they do have a 2nd pick. Second pick in the 1st round. So they do have an opportunity to go snag an edge a little bit later in the draft. I think that with them at that number 5 pick, they are also in a prime position to trade down. But I think that this is a very deep edge class. So I think that they can potentially go ahead and sneak one with, I believe, the number 20 pick that they have later on in the draft.
Now, I know it may be a little too early, but I've seen it been thrown around. And I truly love this guy. I think he is very underrated. But Hendon Hooker, I've seen Hendon Hooker go early as 5 to
That's
the
cap.
Seahawks. I mean, I know they can.
That's
I know they
cap.
got a 2nd first-round pick that they could easily take him at.
Dude, he's 25 years old, and he's going to be out for an entire season. I know that Geno's deal is a 1-year deal. I know it's a 1-year deal, but dude, Hendon Hooker's also in an offense that doesn't translate well to the NFL. It really doesn't. So when you're throwing to wide open, Jalen Hyatt,
but he had 50 touchdowns in the SEC.
Yeah,
and 5
look at his
interceptions.
throws, dude. They're all wide open throws, man. Like it's not like it was difficult to step up in the pocket. I mean, dude, Jalen Hyatt's on a go route. All you got to do is say, "Oh, no one's next to him. He's wide open." Like, I'm not against Hendon Hooker. I like the guy a lot, but I mean, dude, if he's not going to be able to start until he's 26 years old, I'm not saying that age has everything to do with the quarterback, but when you're taking them at the number 5th overall pick, man, like it's a little rich.
I mean, people get drafted. I mean, they know they're going to be sitting anyway. So like, especially with the rookie quarterback, how many rookie quarterbacks will really start? Day one. It's very very select few. So
Yeah, I mean, you have a point. Like, I think he's a prime candidate to sit a year. I mean, he kind of has to with a torn ACL. But all right, moving on to pick number 6 here with the Detroit Lions. I really like them going with Jalen Carter. I think that with Dan Campbell being there, I think that's a good presence and a good mentor for him to have. And I think that'll help him develop into a good, solid professional in the NFL. I know that he's had a little bit of some off the field issues, but I think on the field, man, he's a hell of a prospect. So I think going to Detroit there is an awesome, awesome move.
He's an on the field issue, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
He gives them offensive lineman issues.
Yep. Dude, all right. Now with the Las Vegas Raiders at number 7, I really think that they need just any help that they can get on the defensive side of the ball. I think that corner or defensive end makes a lot of sense. I'm going to go Tyree Wilson. I know that some people will say, oh, well, they already have Chandler Jones and, oh, they already have Max Crosby. I think that Tyree Wilson can play a little bit of that, 5 tech to even kicking him into the 3 tech. I don't think that Chandler Jones, I know he picked it up a little bit at the end of the season. I don't think he's a long-term solution. And I don't think that his pass rush skills have really, provided for what the Las Vegas Raiders thought that they were going to get when they originally signed him. But I think that Tyree Wilson, man, if you give this guy some coaching behind Max Crosby and Chandler Jones, I'm not saying that his rookie year he's going to be a sensation, but if you give him one more year to sit by and learn some of these pass rush moves behind these guys, I mean, this guy's an anomaly. He's a freak. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Paul, do you remember what size his arms measured in at? I want to say it was like 86 inches or something ridiculous.
86. I mean, I know I think they were the biggest arms of the draft. And just to point out, Chandler Jones is also 33 as an edge rusher, so he's not getting any younger. And I know people can play till they're, a little really old at that position. But
yeah,
you always need depth. You always need depth on the edge.
Yeah, dude, you can never go
especially
wrong.
When you're running, especially when you're rushing the AFC West, and they got to chase down Herbert and
Mahomes, Russell
Wilson.
Still, yeah. All right, with the Atlanta Falcons at pick number 8. All right, now this is where I'm going with that 4th quarterback off the board. I'm going Will Levis. I think that going on with Desmond Ridder, you can say as much as you want about him. I thought he was going to be a solid prospect. Dude, when you have a guy like Will Levis that has the arm talent and the tools, I think that this is a good pickup for Atlanta. I think that with him having some actual weapons, which he didn't have in Kentucky, and an offensive line that's still developing, but not terrible, which he also didn't have in Kentucky. I think that helps him. I mean, this guy has a good arm. I know that he's a little bit older than, like we talked about earlier. I think he's a little bit older than, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, and Anthony Richardson. So I think that kind of sets him a little bit behind. But the guy had 2 offensive coordinators in college that really kind of helped him develop. And I think he's going to be able to take advantage of NFL offense pretty quickly.
I think he's a little overhyped, but I mean, I can't be too much of a hater.
All right. And with the Chicago Bears, I'm going with Paris Johnson Jr. I think that the offensive tackle position is a bit of a need for them. If I'm not mistaken, who's the left tackle that they just drafted last year? I can't remember.
Jones.
Braxton Jones, right?
Yeah, something like
yes.
that.
So I don't think that, hear me out. I don't think that Braxton Jones, I don't think that they're going to kick him to the right side. I mean, I think that he did fairly well on the left side. But if you have Paris Johnson Jr. and Braxton Jones, if they're 2, young tackles, I mean, dude, that's going to help Justin Fields in the long run for sure. Along with adding, DJ Moore, dude, that's going to be a potentially scary offense. I mean, that's a solid, team that can run the ball on you and also, kind of dink and dunk with Darnell Mooney coming back. It's going to be a good year for them. I'm hoping that the Bears can kind of turn it around. I do like the moves that they made this offseason. I'm going with him there at number 9.
I will say in the Devontae Foreman as well, competent running back, and they still have
Khalil Herbert.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And if they do somehow, I don't know if he's still available or if they can still manage a trade, but Derrick Henry, I think that would. I really like what the Bears have done in the offseason. That they've turned in from an offense that, I mean, dead almost the worst roster in football, basically, and at least offensively, and even the additions they have on the defensive side. I mean, they're legit. I think, I'm not saying they're gonna, they're not gonna win the North or definitely go undefeated or anything, but
I'm right there with you. I mean, I've always said this. I think the NFC North, after Aaron Rodgers was leaving, I've always said that as soon as Rodgers leaves, it's going to be a little bit of a toss up and up for grabs. So, I mean, I know the Detroit Lions are the new hot shot team, but I mean, dude, they still only have Jared Goff, who I believe in is a good quarterback. But I mean, if Justin Fields can really develop and use all of his tools effectively, dude, he's going to be scary. I mean, he could really elevate it to the next level, almost Jalen Hurts like. So we'll see how 2023 treats him. All right. Number 10 with the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to go Peter Skoronski. I know it's not a sexy pick, but I think that this guy is very versatile. I know that Lane Johnson's getting a little bit older. I want to say he's about 33. And they also lost at their starting guard, Isaac Samalu, in free agency. So I really think that, if you're able to get a guy that can start as a guard and potentially kick out to tackle like Peter Skoronski, I think that has a lot of value for them. So at pick number 10, I think it just makes sense.
Yeah, it's 6'4", shorter arms. He's a good fit for a guard. And like I said, if once Lane Johnson is eventually retires, or they got him and I mean, I don't think he's going to be playing center for Kelsey, but yeah, he can move out there once he's ready, and get that. Rookie season for an offensive lineman is never easy, so that's one of those positions you put them in an easier spot and then slide them out when they're ready, and I think that should be a good combo for him.
Yeah, I agree. Pick number 11, I'm going Broderick Jones, offensive tackle. Tennessee Titans desperately need it. They lost several of their starters this free agency. So I think this is a good pickup. I think he can play potentially right tackle for them. I know that they just got Andre Dillard. I'm not sure if they want to kick Andre Dillard in at guard or if they need to keep him at tackle. But I think Broderick Jones is just a perfect fit with Paris Johnson Jr. and Peter Skoronski already off the board there.
Yeah, little run of tackles there.
Yeah.
Probably how it's going to happen. It seems like it always does.
All right. Pick number 12 with the Houston Texans. I think that they desperately need some receiver help. I would say JSN would be a good pickup here, but I think that him and John Mechie are kind of similar in terms of build. So really, I think that the wide receiver that makes the most sense for them would have to be Quentin Johnson. I think that, he's kind of more of an outside guy that can, potentially run the seam. He's also gotten a little bit of some route running under his belt, which I know JSN's probably the king of that right now. But Quentin Johnson, he's better than like a Jalen Hyatt, or I'd say Zay Flowers on the route running. I think he does need to get a little bit better with his hands and his jump ball ability, being that he's 6'3", 6'4". So we'll see how he develops.
Yeah, definitely get your quarterback a nice new shiny Lamborghini to throw to. So
right,
be a nice chemistry builder there.
All right. Pick number 13 with the New York Jets. I think that they need quite a bit of moves around their team. I think that they have a talented roster, but it could always get better. One player that I think that could be, a little bit of a surprise here. I wouldn't be surprised if they go wide receiver. I know that they just added a lot of guys, but I'm really thinking though, for now, look, you have it locked down with Sauce Gardner. Let's go ahead and add Devin Witherspoon, man. I think if you put him in the mix, dude, that's a scary secondary that I don't think any team, whether that's the Bills or the Dolphins, I don't think that they're going to really be able to really pass. I mean, they're going to pass successfully as they always do, but I think you have two guys here that can play the zone pretty well, and I don't think it's going to be that easy for teams to just throw the ball all day on.
Well, especially the draft is mainly for getting pieces that'll beat your division rivals. You only have to play Kansas City maybe once a year, maybe in the playoffs. But you got to play the Dolphins twice a year, and they got some speed. And I know Sauce is good, but they got a lot of speed on there. You got to get more than one DB to cover everybody.
Right. I mean, dude, the Dolphins have not only they have Tyreek, man, they have Jalen Waddle, right? The Bills, I know that they have Stephon Diggs. That's not an easy matchup, but I mean, I know that they're saying Gabe Davis didn't step up, but dude, there were some games where he would go off for 2 or 3 touchdowns and have some solid play. So I'm kind of curious to see what teams do, like the Jets or even the Dolphins. But I do think that the Jets adding a corner really makes sense and helps them out. Again, going against these guys 2 times a year, you got to find a way to stop them.
Well, definitely adding another piece of that secondary helps out their already good defensive line, and Quentin Williams coming off a career season, have another DB to kind of make the quarterback hesitate a little more. It's only going to help him that much more,
Yeah, absolutely. All right, pick 14, man, going with the New England Patriots. Again, I know they need wide receiver desperately, but they just got Juju. So again, JSN, man, I think it would make a lot of sense, but I think Juju and JSN are kind of similar roles. But this is a guy that I really think is a Bill Belichick kind of guy. I'm going to go with Brian Branch, safety out of Alabama. I think that this is a potential pick that will really truly happen. I think Brian Branch is a phenomenal player. I think he's one of those guys that will slip on a lot of people's boards for some reason. I don't really know why, because I think he's a great player. I think to me, he's a big me guy. Like, I think that in the NFL, he is going to be a solid player, like right away. I'm not talking like, oh, some of these corners might take a few weeks or maybe a year to develop. No, this guy's going to step in day one and be an awesome slot corner or box safety.
Yeah, and I mean they do have Kyle Duggar, but yeah, he could play in the slot. You always need more than one safety, so definitely a baller out there, and he's probably one of the better pure defensive players, just overall players that you can have on your team. So that is a very Bill Belichick kind of, and he loves his defense. So
Yeah, absolutely, man. I know that Mac Jones is probably praying for a weapon, man, but I think that between Jason and Juju, I think that they're pretty much, yeah, it's a one. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Jason has a much higher floor and is a better player than Juju, but I mean, they're going to play the same position and compete. So I'd say that they're going to go defense there. And the Green Bay Packers, another place where I think a wide receiver or weapon would make a lot of sense, but it's the Green Bay Packers, so it's probably not going to happen. I think the Green Bay Packers are going to go with Lucas Van Ness, man, out of Iowa. I think that they need some help on their pass rush a bit and on their defensive line. I think he's a good player. I think he's pretty versatile, kind of like a Tyree Wilson, can play, 5 tech to 3 tech a little bit. I think that he's kind of a guy that, if I'm not mistaken, played on the interior and then pushed to the edge. I don't know how that's going to translate to the NFL. I think he's more of a 3 tech than Tyree Wilson is, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, guys coming out of the league now are coming out of college football are more athletic than in pass. So he's not the biggest dude, so he's not like a big, thick, run stopping kind of guy. But he's definitely a speed rusher, kind of more edgy, bendy kind of guy. So he can play edge, but I do like how he can also get down there and he's strong enough where he can man those double teams and really force that point of pressure and point attack on the inside.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. With the Washington Commanders at pick 16. All right, so this is going to be an interesting pick because in real life, they can go in several different directions. I know that they need some offensive line help here and there. I think that, they're pretty set on the wide receiver spot. If there was a quarterback that was kind of iffy, I would take him. But no, a guy that I think really makes a lot of sense, and hear me out on this, I'm going Nolan Smith. I think if you can have him, Chase Young, and I believe is it Montez Sweat?
Montez Sweat.
Yeah, Montez Sweat. Dude, those three on the defensive line would be pretty scary. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not sure if they're picking up Chase Young's 5th-year option just yet. So I think that Nolan Smith, man, if you could throw him on the defensive line somewhere, I think that, that really helps that pass rush against, the Eagles or the Giants, who are looking to become a little more pass happy, and especially the Cowboys now that they've added some wide receivers or added Brandon Cooks.
Now, I think they say he's an edge, and he's a little undersized. He's only 6'2". But I mean, I believe they lost Cole Holcomb in free agency, so he can play kind of that, Micah Parsons-esque rushing from the middle, the inside linebacker position. Because having him on an edge, say if they do re-sign Chase Young, I think they did already decline his 5th year. But they have Montez Sweat on one side, Chase Young, and then they got Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen in the middle. You can't really fit another edge on the outside of 2 other edges, but
I think you
can have them run up the middle.
Man. I think you can, dude. I think you can put him, dude. Think about this. So Daron Payne, if I'm not mistaken, he's a good pass rush threat. But dude, imagine if you can also have Daron Payne and throw in like Chase Young as a 3 technique and throw Nolan Smith there at the 5 or like the wide 9, dude. Like, I think that, again, he's like a Micah Parsons piece. He's a chess piece, man. You can put him anywhere. I think he can even play off ball coverage, really. Like, I don't think he's done great at it in the college level, but I mean, I think that he could cover the flat pretty well, man. This guy's a freak athlete, so we'll see. But I wouldn't be surprised if they go potentially edge. I know that they need a corner, but that kind of brings me to my number 17 pick, because I couldn't take him at number 16. But I'm going Joey Porter Jr. to the Steelers. I think it's a match made in heaven. Plays where his dad was at. They desperately need a corner. I think he can, kind of sit. Not really sit. He'll definitely start, but he'll kind of have some leadership with Patrick Peterson there as well.
Yeah, I think it's textbook. I think it has to happen. At this point, it seems like everyone wants him to go there, stay in state, and also play for his dad's so and so alma mater. I'd love that pick.
Yep. All right, pick number 18, the Detroit Lions. I think this is a Dan Campbell kind of pick here. I'm going to go with Michael Mayer, the tight end out of Notre Dame. They just traded TJ Hawkinson. I know they got some draft compensation back. They also didn't have to pay him, which was the nice part. So now that they traded him away, I think that if you can get Michael Mayer in, I think he's the same kind of tight end, if not even better than TJ Hawkinson. So I think that's a good pickup for them. Gives Jared Goff another weapon that's reliable. And this guy also isn't he's not he's not a scrub in the run game. I'll put it that way.
No, I mean he is a complete tight end. He reminds me a lot of Kittle. Maybe not as good of a run blocker, but I don't think anybody playing tight end is ever going to be as good as he is. That can also run routes.
Yeah.
But no, I can see that. I mean, you got to replace your all pro tight end there.
Yep. All right, for the Tampa Bay Bucks, I know I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, Bijan, they got to go Bijan." Yeah, I think they have a lot of needs, and I don't think Bijan is necessarily their biggest, running back is their biggest need. So with their 19th pick, man, I'm gonna go with Miles Murphy out of Clemson. I know some people are much higher on this guy than I am. I don't think that he's really had the production to kind of keep up with the highlights and with what people say and speak of him, but I think that this guy is still, a former 5-star recruit. I think he's, going to be a potentially solid pro that, can play similar, like I've said with Lucas Van Ness and Tyree. I think he can play a little bit inside and outside. I think he's kind of a raw specimen in that sense. But I think that Tampa Bay, dude, they definitely need help on the defensive line, especially the pass rush. So I think this is an easy choice for them.
Yeah, no, I don't see any issue with that one.
All right. Pick number 20 with the Seattle Seahawks. All right, Paul, you're going to love this. I'm going JSN out of Ohio State. I think that this is the perfect landing spot for him because you have Geno Smith who can throw the long ball, right? He can also, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, he's got one of the best long balls in the league. But dude, think about it this way: if you could have, Tyler Lockett, deep threat ability, DK Metcalf, deep threat ability, and you can have JSN running across the middle, dude, this is a huge addition to that offense that breaks it apart. So teams like, San Francisco, who are you really going to guard? Because you can't pick up DK on a streak with a safety. You can't pick up Tyler Lockett on a streak with a safety. You can't pick up, JSN running like slants and freaking posts. I mean, I think this guy's going to have a lot of like across the middle or quick outs, but I think that he's a playmaker once he gets the ball in his hands. He kind of reminds me of CeeDee Lamb a little bit in that sense. So yeah, well, I think this is a great pickup for Seattle, man. I think it gives them a good option there in the slot.
Oh, 100%. I think every team, every quarterback that's looking at the way that if this is how they go through it and kind of construct that last piece on their wide receiving core, everyone's gonna be all the other quarterbacks are jealous, like all the young ones, and like, man, like especially like Aaron Rodgers never get any help, and they're just stacking Geno Smith with the best like wide receiver trio in football. And then also you got Kenneth Walker and two great tackles and an emerging offensive line. They can figure out that defense. I mean, they got something going there.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I think Seattle really, like I said, kind of with the NFC North. I think the NFC West is a little bit up for grabs. I know the Cardinals were pretty competitive, but they look to be in a little bit of a rebuild, kind of like a recharge or reload. The Rams, man, I with all that, with all that success at the detriment of them having no draft capital, dude, it's definitely going to hurt them a little bit in the next couple years. But I think that, dude, with Seattle, it's really it's a race, it's the arms race, I guess, between them and the 49ers. And the 49ers don't have a first round pick this year. So hey, Seattle, you have two of them. Go make it worth it and go find a way to compete and potentially win the NFC West this upcoming season.
In the way they drafted last year, I think I would say probably they had the second best overall class in terms of their total body of work, maybe top three.
Who would you say is number one? I'd say the Jets, man.
Jets have to be number one. I say Jets, and then I'm biased with the Chiefs. I mean, we made the amount of rookies that we had and how big of an impact they had. I think them and the Seahawks, I would go tie for second. Debatable who's better, but obviously we didn't have Tariq Woolen, but Pacheco in the 7th, and the amount of talent we have.
Y'all found diamonds in the rough, man.
We
y'all
did.
definitely did. All right, man. Kicking it to 21 with the LA Chargers. So I think that they need another pass catcher. A lot of people say wide receiver, but I think that between, if I'm not mistaken, it's Trey Palmer, right? Or no, Jordan Palmer. I think
Yeah,
it's Jordan Palmer. Between him, Mike Williams, and Keenan Allen, I think the wide receiver trio is doable. I think it's pretty serviceable. In fact, I'd say it's actually one of the better ones in the league between the three.
if they're
But I'm gonna
healthy.
if they're healthy, exactly. But I'm gonna go with tight end Dalton Kincaid here, man. I think this is one of the best pass catching tight ends we've seen come out in the draft in some time. He kind of reminds you of a better Evan Ingram. I think that he's a little more of a sure pick than Evan Ingram was. But I think that him going to LA kind of makes sense. Again, that you got to compete with Kansas City. So hey, if you can put up 30 points a game and force them to put up 30 points a game, I mean it really comes down to their defenses. So yeah, I think that getting a weapon with Herbert, still on his rookie deal, I think it makes sense.
And I know how you feel about drafting a running back in the first round. Um, you know, RIP Zeke. But if they were to, or if they not able to, figure out the Eckler situation. I mean, they have Isaiah Spiller, who he had some
Yeah.
flashes. Obviously, he's not Eckler. Um, would you change it to Bijan if they weren't able to resign? I mean, Jared
Yeah.
Leverett, he's
Yeah.
old, but he had a good season.
He's not it, man. He's
I'm not
probably
saying he's not the future, but he can.
he is probably maybe top 20 tight ends. Like maybe top 15,
Oh,
dude. He's maybe top 15. Dude, I would say that there's other guys that given the opportunity to be a starter, I think he'd be better than it, or they would be better than him. I think the guy's a little old. I think he's a little bit of a progress blocker, man. I'm telling you, Dalton Kincaid. I'm not sure if you've seen his tape, man. He's pretty sensational.
oh, I think he reminds me more of a somewhat like a Mark Andrews kind of guy. I think he's bigger than a Evan Ingram.
Evan Ingram, yeah,
Forgot he was.
he's not like a wide receiver like Evan Ingram was, but he's a good pass catcher. Like
Yeah.
even though Evan Ingram, if I'm not mistaken, struggled with drops at the start of his career, I think Dalton Kincaid is again. I think he's a better prospect than Ingram coming out.
Hmm. I agree.
All right, with the 22 pick, again, I think that Baltimore, and this is a whole separate conversation. I think Baltimore, man, I think that they have some leverage with the Lamar Jackson situation. I think that they're going to end up keeping him for the year. Honestly, at a discounted rate. I bet you that if they don't get a long-term deal signed, he's going to end up having to stay there on a franchise tag. Still going to pay him 32 million, but hey, man, that's a discount compared to the 40 to 50 that some of these guys are making. But with that being said, I'm sure that there's going to be some sort of way that they make him happy. So I'm going to go with Jordan Addison, a wide receiver out of USC. I think he's a good player. I think that he's a good addition to have for Lamar. I think it gives him a little bit of flexibility to play, wide receiver in the slot. So if you have him, you bring back what's his name, Bateman,
Yeah, Rashad Bateman.
Rashad Bateman. Yeah, I think if you bring those two guys together, it's a decent, wide receiver pair. And again, I think that if you can kind of keep Lamar happy, even though he's not going to make the money that he should be making or wants to be making, um, who's to say that this shouldn't help maybe turn his, I guess turn his mood around.
And I think since he already came out and said that he wanted to trade. I don't. I would like to think that he wouldn't sit out the whole season if they're not able to work out a trade. But if his team has to give up 2 first round picks, that's a lot to ask for
And guaranteed. Yeah.
on top
Yeah.
of paying the contract as well. I think if you didn't have to, if it was one or the other, I think that's a completely different story. But I think if they do somehow, if Harbaugh sits down and they have a nice drink together, they work, kumbaya, they work everything out. I think he's going to be the GM at that point. Lamar Jackson, I'm speaking, and he's going to be, every shot's going to be, who do you want? Keep him happy, kind of like a Kyler Murray situation. They're going to be really be tailoring, and I think Baltimore should keep him. They drafted him. They're the ones that showed him, that they believed in him, and he's done nothing but impress their fan base. And I know he's a fan favorite. He has some injury issues, but I mean, a lot of quarterbacks do as well. So, but I think if they do work it out, he's going to have to get everything he wants. So, but Jordan Addison, I think is a great, sure, very safe wide receiver. I don't think the ceiling of like a Hyatt or a Downs or a Zay Flowers kind of guy, who really they're proven guys, but they're not They didn't show it on the D1 like highest level, like a USC or like an SEC kind of guy. But I think it's a very safe pick there.
Yeah, I think he won the Biletnikoff 2 years
Yeah.
ago. So yeah, I mean he's still he's had production with two schools. Yeah, no, I think that again, I think it kind of helps with their situation with the Lamar atmosphere and the distaste that he has for the franchise for now. Pick number 23, man, gonna go with Keely Ringo, cornerback out of Georgia. I think it makes a lot of sense. The Vikings definitely need secondary help, so I really think there's just a plug and play corner there.
Hmm.
With the Jacksonville Jaguars here, there's just several different options that they could go. I really think that offensive line is in my opinion, it's a need. Some people say it's not, and they just lost Jawan Taylor in free agency. I really think that it's between Darnell Wright or Anton Harrison. I'm going to go Darnell Wright in this scenario just because I think that he's a right tackle. I think that they still have Cam Robinson at left tackle for another year, if I'm not mistaken. So this
Hmm.
is a plug and play starter right tackle who I think is pretty good.
Yeah, no complaints right there. I think that they need to fill. That's the biggest. They didn't re-sign a guy, so or they didn't sign a new tackle, so they definitely need to fill that.
Yep. All right, New York Giants. They have a solid defense. Definitely need help on the offensive side. I'm going to go Zay Flowers here. I think it kind of gives them a little bit of a seam buster. They definitely need a wide receiver because, I mean, Darren Waller, great guy if he's healthy, and then Isaiah Hodgins being the only other weapon. I think that wide receiver is a huge need.
Yeah, I mean, definitely They're building around Danny Dimes, who they just gave a contract to. So you know, no other way that makes him feel like he's a part of the team than getting him a bunch of weapons, kind of like Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. All right, pick
Oh,
26, man. It's a tough one. I really want to go Bijan Robinson, but you know what? We learned from Zeke. You don't want to take a running back in the first round. I'm gonna go Brian Bresee, man. Look, the Cowboys have been throwing little day two, day three picks here and there at defensive tackle, and none of them have really worked out. They've had some decent games and some decent seasons here and there. But you know what, dude? I think this guy has a lot of tools. I know that he had a lot of issues, and people say it's injury concern. I don't think it's necessarily an injury concern. I think it's just more, hey, when he's on the field, he can be disruptive, but he's a little inconsistent. So hey, put him in Dallas, dude. I mean, with Micah Parsons there and DeMarcus Lawrence, that D line just becomes that much better, you know?
no, and he's a mass 6'5", like 300 pounds, big dude. Sit right in the middle there. Now, I must say, I don't know if you forgot about him, but Kalijah Cansey's still on the board. Would
I'm
you
not a
not want?
I'm not a fan of Cansey, dude. I know a lot of people like him. They compare him to Aaron Donald. Look, I think that he can be a great NFL player, but dude, he's just he's not Aaron Donald. He's not. But we'll see.
You can't compare anybody to Aaron Donald just yet. It's too early for that. But
Exactly, man. Exactly. He doesn't even have the same arm like this Aaron Donald. Pick 27, gonna go Bijan. I think that the Bills need a replacement at running back.
scary.
Yeah, I think that'd be a little scary for him. Pick 28, man, with the Cincinnati Bengals. So they fixed up a lot of their offensive line, but they lost a lot in their secondary. So I'm going to take a look who we got left over at corner and safety. All right, let's see. All right, man, I think I'm going to go Deontay Banks, the corner. I think he probably will replace Eli Apple. A little bit skinny guy, but hey, I think that anything really helps over what the guys that they have in the locker room right now.
It's an athlete too.
Yeah. All right, pick 29 with the Saints. Man, this is a tough one.
I would almost say Kalijah Cansey. They need the interior defensive line.
You think him or Adebawore?
I think it's kind of the next best interior guy that they need to take. That or maybe a linebacker. But I think those are the two that I would expect to go there.
Yeah, I'll follow that train, man. I'll go Kalijah Cansey. Look, man, I think he's a good late first round pick. I just think that the hype of having him in the top 10, a little rich. Again,
Yeah.
he can. I'm not saying he can't be a disruptive pass play or pass rusher and like potential run stopper, but dude, when he gets blocked, like he is not like he's just out of the play. You know what I mean? It's not like he can create a pile. Being what 280 pounds, 285 pounds.
Yeah.
Like he's not clogging lanes, dude. Like it's just gonna be a hey man, if you can be disruptive, be disruptive. But if you're not, like you're completely out of the play. So I don't know, man. We'll see what happens there. All right, with the Eagles, they just went with the if I'm not mistaken, I had them drafting Peter Skronsky with their first pick. Their second pick, look, there's a lot of talent still left over. People are going to say I'm a little, crazy for this. I'm going to go Jameer Gibbs, the running back out of Alabama. I know that it's weird to have 2 first-round picks being running backs, but hey, look, dude, this guy's explosive. He reminds me a lot of Alvin Kamara. Look, they just lost Miles Sanders. I know they got Rashad Penny, but dude, he's never healthy. When he's
Yeah,
healthy, great, but he's never
and it's only a
healthy.
1 year too.
Exactly. So, hey, look, if you can get Jameer Gibbs on a rookie deal, you're not going to have to pay him for 4 years, and you can have him split carries his first year. I think it makes sense. I don't know about you. I mean, this is their luxury pick,
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's definitely I haven't seen him in the first round, but he's got speed. So
Yeah. All right, Paul. I'll let you kind of have at it for this last pick because it's your Chiefs, man. I know offensive tackle and wide receiver and edge are in need. I still see Jalen Hyatt and Josh Downs available, and I also see Anton Harrison and Dewan Jones, and your guy Darnell Washington. What are you thinking?
as much as I would love, if I had my own pick, I would love Washington. Obviously we still have Kelsey and Fortson. We got quite a bit of defense or tight ends. I'm gonna go with Harrison. I think he's you can't go wrong with an Oklahoma tackle. I think they're very, tried and true there. You got, several already great guys in the league. So, and we have a void now because, Orlando Brown didn't want to sign, but it is
Yeah,
what it
man.
is.
I mean, look, dude, you got Jawan Taylor. From what I understand, dude, they're kicking him to the left. I know we talked about this here and there. Dude, he's going to be a left tackle for him. Anton Harrison plays right tackle, I think, if I'm not mistaken. He plays right tackle. So this guy is going to be a solid, tackle for you guys. I think he'll start from day one. I like him a lot, man. I think he's a first round pick, and I think he might even get drafted earlier than this in real life. But with that being said, that wraps up our 2023 mock draft. If you guys like what you heard, please give us a shout, leave a comment, share us, like us. If you didn't, that
Let us know.
sucks.
Let us know who the half take.
Yeah, who had the half take today, man?
We're
Catch y'all
signing
later.
off.